My name's Terry Clark. In 1978, my wife and I were driving down this old country road, saw a sign on this old building. It was for sale. Read an article in the paper that an amusement park south of Dayton was going to buy it and take it apart and move it. I got the first contract on the place, and the rest is history. 10 years ago, we started a non-profit group called the Friends of Bears Mill, and they will run it forever and ever. When we were cleaning the mill, behind a board, I found this gun. Did a little research on it. It's 1834 Belgian barrel, English firing mechanism, cherry stock, and this gun cost $6 in 1834. And the sequence in firing this is you'd have 3 pouches, one with gunpowder, put the gunpowder in, one with packing, that would be bark or material, anything to compress the gunpowder, and then the bullet would look like a marble, a lead shot. And you'd have one shot at what was coming at you. So to save time on loading, they'd put the bullets in their mouth. Gunpowder, packing, spit in the bullet, and fire. And sometimes as they're running through the woods, they would swallow the bullets. You've heard the phrase, get the lead out? That's right, that's where it came from. They would swallow the bullets, and the next day they'd go through whatever they had for dinner that night before and get the lead out. In 1824, President James Monroe granted 333 acres to Major George Adams. Adams always wanted a flour mill, but he had to build a sawmill first, so he cut the wood from 1824 to 1826 and passed away. 2 contractors came along, started construction of the mill, had a falling out in their partnership. Gabriel Bear came here from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and brought with him Magdalena Hershey, part of the Hershey chocolate family. He was smart. He married into money, and I married a starving artist. Gabriel Bear had black walnut siding put on the mill and heard about the French burrstone, B-U-H-R. It's just the name of a rock like granite, sandstone, marble. These stones were sought after by world millers because they kept cool in the grinding process. Gabriel Bear had to have these stones. He got on his horse, rode the coast, got on a ship, went to France. 2 years later, he came back with these 3 French burrstones that we grind with today, and they cost $6,000 a set in 1848. That's equivalent to $160,000 today per set. But the quarry is gone, there's no more left, and these have been authenticated. When I'm grinding, I try to keep a slow, constant feed of grain in the burrstone to have a good, wholesome product. If I feed it too slow, the 2 stones touch, overheats, kills the vitamins and minerals. A burnt smell comes up and out of the stone, hence the phrase, keep your nose to the grindstone. The burrstones were used from 1848 to 1884. With the signing of the Peace Treaty, 1795, this was the beginning of the Northwest Territory. Everybody from the east that came across Ohio had to come through this area, and they needed flour and stuff to get them to the next section, which would be Kansas City probably. The burrstones couldn't feed the masses of people, so they invented the roller mills, a new way to grind to get the whitest, purest snowflake flour possible in the bran you fed to the hogs. Steel rollers go like this, the grain goes in between the rollers and it's crushed, but steel to steel automatically overheats and kills your vitamins and minerals whether you feed it fast or slow. So Pillsbury uses updated equipment, roller mills. They grind out all the vitamins and minerals, put 4 back in, and they actually take powdered bleach and bleach the flour to make it white, thinking that's what's good for us, but we know it's not. 1884 to 1945, they used the roller mills, but these mills were competing with Pillsbury. So the previous miller, Charlie Andrews, discontinued the roller mills, put the burrstones back into operation, and had about 5,000 customers all around the world buying his product. Let's go upstairs now. It's a way to weigh grain, and they put the weights on and then put 2 or 3 bags of grain on, and they can tell how much it weighs. That's the purpose of it. So I brought this wagon up and I took it apart and carried it up and put it back together, put a cover on it, and it's just a great piece where people can sit in the wagon and have their picture taken.
Yeah, that's neat.
It is a great wagon. One of the millers, Marcellus Crummer, owned the mill for 62 years. He was a little short guy with a big mustache. I think I'm him reincarnated. He had a drinking problem, and he would drink and hide his bottle behind one of the boards, like behind here, and his wife would put flour dust on the floor at the steps, and then he'd walk through it, and all she would do is track the flour dust, get the bottle, and break it. And there was a story that he was reaching for this rope to pull the grain up, and he fell out into a wagon of wheat and brushed himself off and got back up here and continued working. Marcellus Crummer, my kind of guy.
So he fell all the way down there, which is definite.
That's 50 feet or so.
And he gets back up and he comes back to work.
Yeah, brushed himself off. We believe somebody lost an arm and died right in this area. If I'm out here at 4 o'clock in the morning, I feel a presence of something right in this area. And I've heard my name called out, and we do have a friendly spirit here. His name is Rufus McCooter.
And that's the name that you gave him because you don't know exactly who it is, so that's just, it doesn't relate to anybody. I mean, it's just a name.
Just a name. We have some weights upstairs on the 3rd floor that they weigh 10, 12 pounds, and I line them up. I always line them up, and when I come in the next day, they are moved around, and nobody comes in the mill but me, and nobody goes upstairs but me, so something's doing it. That might weigh 15 to 20 pounds, and I line them up every day, right like this, and something moves them around. And I can tell by the dust. We have flour dust up here, and they are picked up. They aren't scooted across. They're picked up and replaced. The lady that wrote about Bears Mill's ghost,
Rita,
she saw behind this sifter a man's leg, Levi's, and work boots as he walked across. And she went downstairs and talked to one of our girls that work here and said, "Do you know you have a ghost upstairs?" And of course the girl that was working said, "Of course, that's Rufus McCooter." Charlie Andrews, previous miller to me, owned the mill for 32 years. He was working on his car, and it was half in and half outside the garage. And he went to do something, and it slipped in gear, and the car door came and crushed his pancreas. And that's when we were trying to buy the mill. And he came up and he showed me over here where to pour the grain in. He said, "Pour the corn in that hole, start the mill, it'll come back up." And then he died right here. I waited and waited and waited for the corn to come up. I thought I had pushed and pulled all the right paddles. If we pull and push the right paddles, that'll make sure the grain will get back up here. I checked all the floors except the first floor, and I left a paddle out, and there was 1,000 pounds of golden corn on the floor that I swept up into bags again, carried it back up, shut the paddle off, and it worked just like he said.